My name's Ian Tamblyn. Welcome to my home. I'm a musician and occasional playwright and adventurer, I guess, at some point. I find waking up an adventure now. I've been playing professionally for 52 years and I'm still alive and doing it.
Further and further and further north, and the day goes on and on. Sheets of gold on a seeking path, chasing the sun. Spirit light, light in the spirit. We are the fortunate ones to have come so far, to look back in time. Chasing the sun, chasing the sun, chasing the sun, chasing the sun.
Hey everybody, it's Adam here with another video. Welcome to another episode of my Unsung Hero series, where I'm very excited to introduce you to Ian Tamblyn. Ian's been a musician for over 50 years. He's well into his 70s now. He's put out over 45 albums worth of music over the course of his life. Busy guy. I caught up with Ian this past winter at a show he put on in the Ottawa Valley. After the show, we caught up at his house and we talked all things Ian Tamblyn. So in this video, you're going to see some footage from that show, and you're also going to hear Ian talking about his life, his music, his recent Order of Canada award, which is very cool. And we delve into some stories behind the songs, including, probably his most famous song, Woodsmoke and Oranges. So I think you're really going to enjoy this if you know Ian or if you don't know Ian. And I decided to do this video because for all the music Ian's put out, for all the work he's done, the general public, for whatever reason, hasn't seemed to have caught on to all the things he's been up to over the years. So whenever I come across somebody who's done a lot like Ian has and hasn't received, a ton of recognition comparatively to the work he's put out, I always feel like I should do something about it. So that's what this video is. You're going to get to know Ian, and if you enjoy his music, I'm going to put some links below where you can find his music online. And without further ado, here is Ian Tamblyn. Enjoy.
In my youth, I wanted to be on the top of the mountain in a very naive and innocent way. But I'm not a great singer, and I'm an okay guitar player and pianist. I thought the songs could carry me, but and they did, but I bumped into the industry early on. I started in '72. By 1977, I had released 3 albums and was working on the next one, which would be When Will I See You Again. I had a record contract in Los Angeles, but they wanted me to change all my place names to American names. And if anything, I'm a bit of a quiet Canadian nationalist, and I refused to do so. So I came back, and a friend of mine in Los Angeles said, "You've just made the biggest mistake in your life by telling people that you're not going to change it." He said, "You've just told people that you do not want to be part of it." And I said, "I guess so." And so I've been really an independent, chasing the fragile tangent since that time. I've never had management. I've never had an agent for any more than 5 months. So I've pretty much been the little red hen. I did it myself and found places to play across Canada and played the folk festivals too. But it was this fragile tangent of community-based coffee houses and concert series that were only as good as the volunteers who stayed with them. And of course, people move on to different stages in their life. So if there were a couple places on a circuit that I was working that dropped out, I was gone. That's the way that it went. I remember getting in a real argument. I was in Prince George, and the head of the Vancouver Folk Festival was there. And he said, "Tamblyn, what the hell are you doing up playing in this part of Canada?" And I said, "This is where it's happening. in any urban center, you're going to have a collision that is the same collision in the rest of the urbanized world. This is Canada, the small towns of Canada, the wilderness. I'm pursuing something which would be chasing the North or chasing Canada or culture in Canada. I'm not going to be doing it in Toronto or Montreal or Vancouver or even Winnipeg. And I'm not disparaging those people who've made their careers there. I chose not to. But when he said, you'll never play at the Vancouver Folk Festival because you're playing in these towns, I just lost all respect for the guy, all respect. I started doing expedition work with a company called Adventure Canada in 1993-94, and I was asked along as a performer. But I had also just been a writer-in-residence on the Alaska coast for 6 expeditions, studying everything from the feeding habits of whales and walrus to doing some benthic work in the Gulf of Alaska. So I had some marine biology stuff, so I could add to that portfolio. And so I did it, and then they found me useful, and I could drive a boat, so I ended up driving a Zodiac on subsequent trips. And I was with the company and other companies. I was with Polar Star, Quark, Ocean Wide Adventures, maybe 1 or 2 more. So I traveled for 27 years, sometimes 4 or 5 months of the year on the oceans of the North and in the Arctic, Scotland, Labrador, Northern Canada, West Coast Canada, and Antarctica. What is your favorite song might coincide with your audience's favorite song, but it might not. And I might try to sell a song for years and years without success. As I think about that, there's a song that I like, Chasing the Sun. I like the energy of the song. And yet, it's not a song that turns up on others' favorite list. Another song like Woodsmoke and Oranges will. And that's because the song has, in some sense, done well for me and I enjoyed doing it. I think in terms of a well-crafted song, that Boxcar in Algoma is a well-crafted song. But, you know, I will sometimes fight for a song that's starving for oxygen. You know, I've always liked the song Cookie Rankin and the Purcells, but I know that's a curious song that people may not get. In fact, Cookie Rankin didn't get it. When I first started writing, I'd get up and write from 9 to 1 every day. And I don't do that anymore. But I would sometimes write 8 or 9 songs a week, and I'm not a natural. I have to work at it. These days, if I get an idea in my head, I, jot it down and let it kind of freewheel in my brain for a while, and that sort of gestation period usually sorts out things like perspective and point of view, and I tend to write the lyrics first. But at the same time, I spend most of my time doing instrumental doodles and moods. Then I try to line up my mood music or doodles with the subject of the song. It's not an exact science, you have to work things out. But you want to get certain tonal aspects in the guitar, certain sonics and voicings of the guitar to match the lyrics of the song. I firmly believe that the muse likes hard work, and it's happened that I've been working away in a craft sense on a song, and the muse will come along and said, "You are a dull turnip, you need help," and I've gotten help from outside mysterious sources. Woodsmoke and Oranges started on Lake Superior, a trip that we took there. To make a long story short, we were out for about 15 days or so, and as we got into it, we surrendered more to the lake, more and more, beyond just putting Canoe on the shoreline to, I guess, in some sense, to own up to the fact there are forces on Lake Superior far stronger. And it's not a giving in, it's just to be observant of things. Anyway, we stopped one evening and we had an unusual thing happen in the afternoon. We were traveling along in very calm water, and all of a sudden, coming off the shoreline was this water spout, and maybe 40 feet high, and it just sort of like, you know, it was like a mini tornado, and it went by us and into Superior and disappeared. And it was weird because we were in calm water, and got ashore, and Lindsay, who was kind of our leader, said, I made a mistake. I should have responded to Mishabishu, who's the god of Superior, the sea lynx. And I said, well, yeah, that's true. But you know, it's enough that we're paddling 25 miles a day. You know, I think we can be forgiven for, you know, not seeing that as a symbol of Mishabishu. Anyway, we drew the canoes up that night, and I actually drew my canoe up higher than others. And in the morning I woke up and I saw Lindsay walking down the beach. My canoe wasn't in the place where it had been the night before. It was down the beach, maybe 300 feet. I ran down there to find that the whole bow of the canoe had been opened up, ripped open, and between the inwale and outwale, small stones were placed in it. There were no footprints. The water had been calm all night, and we were also miles from the, maybe 14 miles from the highway. It was near in the Gargantua Peninsula, and I just went, oh my God, you know, what can we do? And so we started picking up nails off of driftwood, and then got some spruce sap and stuff like that, because we didn't have enough duct tape to make it work. So we had to bang the canoe back together, and we did. But we got back to heat the sap up, and in the middle of the fire was this drawing on a rock.
I turned my back upon these things I tried to deny, the coastline of my dreams, but it turns me by and by. Tossed the mighty ship around, it smashed the lighthouse door, sent shivers up my spine. The rugged northern shore, in the land of the silver birch, cry of the lone. There's something about this country, it's a part of me and you.
And this is a shamanistic representation of a shaman. Again, no footprints, no evidence, and we had not seen anybody for 10 or 11 days. Not seen anybody. So in that moment, I think we surrendered to the lake and saw everything from that point on as symbolic. There were 6 of us on the trip. We saw 5 ducks. We worried about 1.
Jarareuse, I'm in grade 6. I was born in Hopedale, Labrador. He had the brand new running shoes, got new for school. Say, what you guys come to Hopedale for?
The Mark Jarareuse story is, I think it's got legs, and it also has sort of prescience these days, because I don't know for, you know, whether somebody will call me and say, well, Ian, you shouldn't be singing a song from an Inuit person's voice. But I came from the kind of folk community that believed that our songs should be sung about people who have no voice. And certainly Mark didn't have a voice, and so in some sense I gave him one when he was 12. And so that song, I think, has legs and has in it, I purposely left it in a major key so I wouldn't be overly romantic about it. I wasn't gonna, so it has I think in it a matter of factness in the delivery of it, and that pulls people forward, you know. And also I had a lot of fun writing in the vernacular of a 12-year-old kid on a Labrador coast. My English teachers would shake their heads, but I love the line. I actually do love the line. Where does that ship you come here on come from?
Say, where does that ship you come here on come from? And the time goes slow on Sundays, and the time goes slow on Sundays.
And somehow it got played on CBC Labrador radio. So at 8 o'clock in the morning here, I got a phone call from the ad hoc committee of Hopedale women. Did you write that song about Mark Jarareuse? And I said, yeah, I did. Well, we just wanted to tell you, there ain't no Mark Jarareuse in Hopedale. I said, I know that. I just didn't want to embarrass him or center him out. And she says, well, it didn't work. We know exactly who you're talking about. The sad part of the story is when maybe 12 years later, I came to Hopedale and someone said, do you want to meet Mark? No, he's 25. And I said, sure. Well, I shouldn't have, because the kid I knew and spoke of in the song, or I was him, was the light had gone out. And it was just, I couldn't get out of the room fast enough. And I realized something, that as a songwriter and singer of those songs, I'm like a cartoon writer. My characters don't grow old. I'm still 12 in that song. I didn't grow up. Mark did. So it's interesting when you take on a song. There's a responsibility there, but there's also you're also Charlie Brown for the rest of your life.
I really like your ship. Could I go on that ship? Will you guys be coming back again? And the time goes slow on Sundays, and the time goes slow. There's a cold wind in the Caribou. It's cutting through the pines. Whitecaps form on the muddy frays. There's a feeling of not much time before the snow will take these dusty hills.
Cold Wind in the Caribou, which was set in the kind of on the highway between Williams Lake and Bellacoola, the Caribou. When I was there, it was a cruel time of year, you know, November, December, and the desert or semi-desert of the Caribou was not particularly welcoming, and at that time it was really at the height of the clear cutting. In Williams Lake there were maybe 35 bark kiln burners, and it just, when you drove into Williams Lake, it was just like Dante's Inferno. It was just looked like hell. And then mixed with the social environment of Williams Lake, you know, where the average life expectancy at the time for Shuswap male was 28 years. It just portrayed a dark picture, and that's where I wrote Cold Wind and the Caribou. So when it says, when I sing, I think it's time to get off the road, it was.
I think it's time to get off the road, and things are closing in. Got a feeling called foreboding, I've lost the goodness in men. There's a cold wind and a caribou.
These days, the gigs are largely motivated by myself, or, you know, house concerts and small folk series and that. I bring my own sound system. I've got a nice Bose tower and nice set of mics and DI boxes and so on. I'm playing 3 guitars and a hammer dulcimer. If there's a nice piano, I'll play the piano, and also flute, First Nation flute as well. I do a fair number of benefits during the year too. I enjoy doing those if it's a good cause. I have to sort of vet them carefully, because you can end up playing for someone who, you know, you're kind of wallpaper. You can be treated as wallpaper, and I'd rather not do that, you know. That's basically it. I'm going on a tour in March out to Vancouver Island. Many of the places I've played for 30 years, every year or two. There used to be, within the folk music community, a notion of elders, that the folk community and the folk process is something that is an oral tradition that is passed on by the senior members of that community. I was fortunate when I was growing up in that the elders were usually black country blues artists from the southern United States. Nobody had heard about Mississippi John Hurt, Skip James, you know, any number of those people, Furry Lewis, who were Booker White, Reverend Gary Davis, just to name a few. And they were all in the twilight of their careers, and they were all welcome to give mentorship to people like Bonnie Raitt, to Colin Linden, he was with Sam Chapman, all kinds of people, Ry Cooder, Taj Mahal, Randy Newman, would go to McCabe's in Los Angeles to see all these people each week. And so Ry Cooder ends up being sort of at the feet of Joseph Spence or Sleepy John Estes and Rachel Yanks, and learned from them. Unfortunately, I think that tradition has disappeared. That's all I can say. How did I get that award? Well, I didn't know anything about it. It was submitted or first worked on in 2017. The vetting process is quite serious, and the person who did it was Leslie Strutt, and she's from Kemptville. And Leslie, I never met her. She died of cancer. She was a poet and creative soul around town, and so I never met her, and I'm sad about that, because it was a very nice thing that she did. Other people around here worked on it. Amanda suddenly took an interest in me, asking me questions about myself, which normally I spend my time trying to tell her things about myself, not really. Anyway, she fed these other people who were involved in it, fed them various facts, and I didn't know why she suddenly was taking an interest in, but she did. So then I found out, I got a letter in the mail saying, "You have received this award, Office of the Order of Canada." And I was shocked. And then just in December 2022, there was the investiture at Rideau Hall. So I went to the award ceremony, and I thought I had it in hand, but I ended up, it was quite emotional. I got quite choked up. My family was there. It was nice. We were only allowed 3 people, so Amanda, Matthew, and Walker came, and then I was at the last minute allowed one more person. So one of the people who submitted the nomination came along, Louis Schwartz. So it was all pretty good, and I knew Whit Fraser, Mary Simon's husband, from trips I had done up north. So he was giving me the nod and the wink and the hairy eyeball as I'm about to get the award, you know, which was supposed to put me at ease, but it just made me closer to tearing up, you know. It was, so you never know how you're going to react to these things, you know. But it was fine. Since then, it's been very quiet. I wrote this song between St. Kilda and the Shetland Islands. It was quite a storm, and everything. It was a colony of gannets that was just being blown off their rookery by the wind and the waves. And in the middle of it, all of the storm, I realized that the ocean is not the protagonist here. It's the wind. The water would like to be calm, but is whipped up by the wind. It's kind of like some relationships. Oh, how I wish to be calm, but the wind, oh, the wind. Why are you so restless that you take all peace away? And you turn me to a fury. The wind, oh, the wind. All foam and spindrift, mountains and waves. And oh, how I wish to be calm, but the wind, oh, the wind, brings fear to the hearts who would long safe at home. I'm still you roaring in the rain, the wind, oh, the wind, and yet bring fear to the hearts who long safe at home. Oh, how I wish to be calm, but the wind, oh, the wind, longs to be the waves. She will have her way. No, oh, how you torment me, the wind, oh, the wind. For I love to feel you near me and wish you'd go away. Oh, how I wish to